He's an introvert, interviewing strangers from the internet, knocking down the walls of his comfort zone, one conversation at a time. This is the Gary Cantrell Podcast.
The Gary Cantrell Podcast for March 11th, 2020. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. In just a few moments, I'm going to be getting Eden on the line here. I'm really looking forward to talking with her and hearing all about her journey. But before we do that, I must give a shout out, of course, to my Patreon podcast producers, and they are Kaitlyn at Kaitlyn Elise. That is 3 Y's in her name because, 3 times is awesome. Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, Amanda at Mutts_and_Miles, and our brand new patron, Morgan at DDPY Mama. Welcome to the club, Morgan. Happy to have you. Let me tell you something really quickly here about Patreon. This is probably the best way to support this program. If you're a big fan of what I do here, if you really like the show, if you are all caught up on the show and you don't want to wait 5 days, 5 more days for the show, you're listening to this on Wednesday right now, that's right, as my aunt would say, I'm fixing to drop a new episode on Friday for patrons. And so if you head over to patreon.com/Gary Cantrell, you could check out all the perks, the amenities of becoming a patron on the website, which includes the early access to the podcast 5 days before anybody else gets it. When I do the little video podcast, sometimes there's a video version of the podcast. Those go up for the patrons exclusively. Ad-free, what I'm talking about, all this stuff right here, you don't even hear it. I shout out the Patreon podcast producers, and then we get right to the show. And that's it. And you get your own private RSS feed. You get a higher quality MP3. Oh, and I did not mention this yet. 25% off. 25% off the Hard Work Always Wins store, hardworkalwayswins.com. Yes, that is right. As long as you are a patron, you will have 25% off all Hard Work Always Wins merch. So really, folks, at $4 a month, that's a hell of a value. Now, if you go to $10 a month, you get everything I mentioned, plus you get your name shouted out at the front of the show, along with those awesome people, your Instagram handle. If you happen to run a business and you want me to shout that out, I'll shout it out real quick. We'll get it in there. It's a great way to advertise what you got going on. So make sure that you check out patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. And I know, at times people don't always have money to support, and that's totally cool. Let me tell you about a free way you can support the show. I always like to give you the best of both worlds, a paid way and a free way. And the free way is to go on iTunes, or Apple Podcast, rather, is what they're calling it now, and leaving a review for the show. Now, this doesn't sound like necessarily like a big thing. You might say, Gary, how in the world is that going to help the show? Well, here's the thing. Apple Podcasts, they put so much stock in those reviews. And so when a show has enough reviews, and of course, enough positive reviews, because that's all we want. I mean, I want people that actually like the show to leave reviews for it. But basically, there is this kind of algorithm. You always hear about the big bad algorithm of Instagram. There is an algorithm to Apple Podcasts, and those podcasts with a lot of reviews and a lot of positive reviews get ranked higher in the charts of Apple. So that's what I want. I don't think it's a whole lot to ask if you actually like the show. If you don't like the show, well, then don't do anything. But if you really like the show and you haven't done this yet, please do it. It really, really helps. I'm trying to get to 100 reviews by the end of 2020. We're already at 76. I don't think this is a lot to ask for. So I think we can do it. I think we can make it happen. So help me out if you can. I would really greatly appreciate it. yeah, so 5 stars. Leave just a couple of sentences. What does the show mean to you? What has it done for you? What does it offer to potential listeners? Because that's the other part of this too, right? It's not just how do we rank high in an algorithm. It's how do we tell people that don't know about the show what the hell they're missing out on when it comes to the show. This is a show that I think offers a ton of value, and that's just not just me blowing smoke up my own ass. That's what people are telling me. And so I want to find the best way to convey that message to people that have never heard this podcast. So there you go. Go check it out. If you can support the program either on the patreon.com/Gary Cantrell or leave a podcast review through Apple Podcasts. That can be done on your iPhone, your iPad, your Mac, your 2005 PC that has iTunes on it. Yes, it still works. You can do that. So help me out there if you can. And of course, I mentioned it earlier. If you are a patron, you get 25% off hardworkalwayswins.com. But you can also just go check out the website, hardworkalwayswins.com. Podcast listeners, on your first order, I'm giving you 10% off with the code podcast. Head over, check it out. We got a lot of cool merch over there. We're adding a lot more. People are telling me they really, really like Teespring. They really like what they offer. They really like the quality of the garments, the customer service, the tracking, all that stuff. It's just an overall better situation than the old one. And I like the old one, but this one it's just way better. Teespring, they're a top class company all the way. And so if you can go check them out over there, and it's going to be awesome. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get Eden on the line here. I'm looking forward to chatting with her. We recently got connected, and I cannot wait to hear all about her story. So let's get this going. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's Wednesday today. I got my days all confused. How's your Wednesday going so far?
It's going pretty well. I'm kind of sick, so if I sound funny, that's why. But otherwise, I'm pretty good.
I'm sorry to hear that. What are you dealing with, a flu or a cold, or what do you got going on over there?
I think I'm fighting a sinus infection.
Oh,
or maybe
those are
just
the
a bad
worst.
cold. Yeah, because I didn't really have a cold, but now I had like the your head's gonna explode feeling. But it's better today. So I'm hoping it's just going away, whatever it is.
Yeah. Did you ever have problems with like sinuses or allergies in the past? Do you have a history of that?
No, I don't, luckily. I mean, I have some, like, seasonal allergies sometimes, and it was warmer here, so I'm wondering if, like, something like that set it off.
Yeah.
Because it was, like, you're pretty close, so it was, like, in the 50s, so wondering if, like I'm in PA.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, we're only like a state or so away.
Yeah.
No, I was asking just because I have a history of a lot of like sinus and different allergy type related stuff. So I'm like, oh God, I hope it's not somebody else has got to deal with this stuff. Cause the thing about it is that I've noticed is that it just hits you at like the most random of times, and it's just unpredictable. And you can go from being fine for 1 minute, and then the next thing you know, your head feels like it's going to explode. And sometimes you lose your hearing for a little bit, and it can be really uncomfortable.
Yeah, a little boy I watch has really bad allergies, so he has, like, ear infections, like, all the time. So, I'm used to that from him. So, that can't be fun. No, I don't want that.
No, and you know, the worst thing too is like, I don't want to get graphic for the people, but like, just like blowing your nose, let's say, like your head feels so congested. There feels like there's so much to come out, and then you blow and then nothing comes out. And it's the worst feeling because you're in pain and you're trying to get it out and it just doesn't want to come out. And that can just be extremely uncomfortable.
Yes.
So PA, were you born and raised in PA?
Yep. I was born here and lived here most of my life. 5 years of my life, I actually lived in Arizona, which is a big difference. But then we moved back, and I've been here ever since. So from the years of when I was 5 years old till I was 10, I was in Arizona.
How did you like that? Do you remember much of Arizona?
Yeah, I remember a good bit. I hate winter, so I like the warmth, but it's extremely warm there, so I would happily live in a middle temperature somewhere.
Yeah, I was about to say PA, and you don't like winter.
No, but that wasn't really my choice
Well,
since I was born here.
Yeah.
But
That's true. What are you closer to, Philly or Pittsburgh?
um,
Neither?
probably like in the middle.
Okay, yeah.
I'm close to Gettysburg, so
Oh,
like
okay.
not really. Like I'm like in the middle of all the big cities, like Baltimore, Philly, Pittsburgh. I can get to all of them pretty easily.
Yeah,
Like
when I think of Pennsylvania, the two I think of immediately are Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and that's just an outsider thing. So don't mind
mhm.
me. I know nothing
Yeah,
about your
I'm
state.
actually like 20 minutes from Harrisburg, which is the capital. So
That I have
if you
heard
ever
of.
think, yeah, if you ever think of Harrisburg, that's where I'm near there.
Okay, yeah. So I was about to say, I was like, I have heard of that, but the first, and I've never even been to Pittsburgh. I think I've driven around it going to like Ohio once, but Philly, I would stop in there for the cheesesteaks all the time.
Yeah,
I,
yeah, and a lot of people do that.
yes, for sure. There's so many options there that you could just lose your mind if you were in that mindset where you're like, I just have to have a cheesesteak.
Yeah, they're not my favorite, so they weren't my big thing, but they have Philadelphia cheese cake there,
Oh, okay.
like the real stuff, and that's delicious.
That I've never had actually. Even when I was a bigger guy and food was everything. Like I didn't even think there was a thing that I knew of that was Philadelphia cheesecake. Like I knew New York cheesecake. That's the one
Yeah,
you hear more, I think, more often than not.
yeah, I think it's like the same thing, it's just they call it their own kind there.
Yeah, yeah. So you were in Arizona from 5 to 10, you said, right? And then you came back
Yep,
to Pennsylvania.
yep, and I've been here ever since, and I'm 30 now, so it's been a while.
And have you been in pretty much the same area of Pennsylvania all your life?
Mostly like an
Okay.
hour radius. So yep, it's a big state, but I've lived almost the same area.
Yeah, you must really like it a lot though to stick around up there, or is it just more that's kind of what you're used to?
Well, now I'm married and I have a kid and
Yeah.
all of our family is here. So once that happens, you just kind of settle in. Like he has his career, so like you have to if you're going to move, you have to relocate and get all new stuff. So maybe one day, but not right
How long
now.
have you been married?
We've been married 6 it'll be 6 years. We've been together 11 years, so
Okay, cool.
a while.
That sounds like me and my wife because we've been together. This will be our 11th year. But we've been married for almost 5 years. So a very similar amount of time, which is, I think, a pretty good balance, I think.
Yep, I think you should be together a while so you can get sick of each other and know before you try to be married.
Yeah, no, she was all about, she was wanting to get married. She was waiting for it. But I was in a previous marriage. I screwed it up and I was like, man, I really don't want to screw this up. So I made her wait so long and she was not happy about that. She's probably listening in the car right now, shaking her head.
By the time we got married, I was pretty ready for it too.
Yeah. Where'd you guys meet?
We actually met on the school bus.
On the school bus. What what
Yep.
what grade?
I was in 11th and he was in 10th grade.
So he just rolled up and was like, "Yo, what's up? How you doing?"
I He was actually the new kid, and I told him he could sit with me because I thought he was cute.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There's that
Yep.
there's that Eagles song, New Kid in Town.
Yeah, I know that song.
There
Yep,
you go.
that's
Yeah.
how it that's how it worked, but we didn't date for many years. We actually were friends for a long time, and then we worked together, and then we were robbed together. We worked at Rutter's, which is a convenience store, if you don't know, and we were robbed when we were working together. I
You're
always tell
kidding. Tell me about that. I have to know about that.
Well, it was a smaller store. I don't know if you've ever been to a Rutter's,
I
but
have not.
most of them are big now, like Sheetz. But
Okay.
this one was still little. It didn't have like the food side yet. It was just like a normal small like like had like sodas and that's about it. Like sodas and cigarettes.
Yeah.
So I didn't drive because I lived so close. I just walked to work then, and he didn't drive. He just got dropped off. So they didn't think anyone was in the store except the one worker because there was only one customer in the store, but
Yeah.
there was 2 workers and a customer in the store, and they came in with gunpoint and robbed us. Thankfully, they didn't hurt us, and they just took the money, and they got caught. They actually got stuck behind a school bus
Oh my
when they were
God.
trying to leave. But
That's
yeah,
karma right there.
yeah, they actually robbed a bunch of places. They were not great people, but they got caught for all of them and then had to go to jail for a long time. But since we were okay, now it's like a story that's like fun to tell people, like how romantic we got robbed together.
Do you think that maybe played some sort of a thing in maybe getting together? Like it brought a new kind of bond? Like, wow, we went through this really crazy moment together.
It probably brought a bond, but we actually I stopped working there, and then we stopped talking for a few months, and he started working with one of my best friends, and then I went to see her one day on her lunch break, and he was there, so I just said that it was like life, like, telling us again and again that we were supposed to be together because it kept throwing us back together.
Yeah.
So, then we started dating at that point, and 11 years later, here we are.
Wow. And what was kind of like the common bond that you guys would come together on? Cause I know like for me and my wife, like we met like at concerts and stuff like that. You guys have like a general interest that really brings you guys together?
Um, we were really just friends the whole time. Like even when we didn't talk, like when I saw him after we stopped talking the last time, it was just like we were just like, "Hey," like
Yeah.
never stopped talking. So I think that's really like we just always were close. Like
That's
that's
cool.
what really helped us be in a relationship really because friendship will help you get through the hard times because if you don't like each other and you're not friendly with each other, that's gonna make it even
Oh
harder.
yeah, it's so true. So it's you know, cause I know my fellas out there will think like, oh, you know, to be a friend with a female, it's like, oh, I'm in the friend zone. You know, that may not always be the case. There are a lot of times where that is, the female may not have an interest, but there may also be the time where you develop this really great friendship and then it leads into something else. Like you just never know.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what happened for us, so and I always say it works best that way if you can find someone you can be best friends with.
Yeah, you just got to play it out and
Mhm.
see kind of how it works. Cause that's really what makes a marriage work. And I've, my wife, we've had our ups and downs. I mean, it's just a part of life. You got to really find the common bond and come together and compromise and really click well together or else it doesn't work, and then you just got the back and forth fighting. And then hopefully it doesn't go this way, but sometimes, it goes to separation, divorce. You don't want to go that route, but you really got to find that common bond, and a good friendship is a heck of a way to start. That's for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So, growing up there in Pennsylvania, what was your childhood like?
It was just me and my mom, and she worked, so I was, like, a pretty responsible kid, like, I'd have dinner done when she got home from work and, like,
Oh,
do
okay.
all my chores plus schoolwork, and I'm an only child, so
Yeah.
it really was just me and her and our cats. Had some cats when I grew up. So yeah, she pretty much taught me, like, how to be an adult from pretty young, which helped me because then when I got thrown out into the real world, I wasn't so like, "Wow, this sucks."
Yeah.
Um, that's I wasn't into sports or anything because I was always the chubby kid, I wasn't in, like, any of the cliques in high school, I pretty much just tried to be, like, nice to everyone, but
Sure.
not really get too close to anyone, like, just be that nice kid that everyone knew,
You
but
got those walls up
was
though.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I had a couple friends, but I didn't really hang out with a lot of kids from school, especially because, like, in my younger days, kids are a lot meaner when they're younger, and
Oh
everyone
my
made fun
God.
of me. So when grew up with them, I was like, "Yeah, we're not really friends just because 'cause you're nicer now."
We're acquaintances, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term. And that is tough too, because you just don't know like who you can trust, especially in high school or
Oh,
even middle
yeah.
school. Cause people like, just like you, people are trying to figure out like, their life and like kind of what their path is and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so they change, they make new friends. And sometimes those friends don't click with kind of your values, and maybe it takes them in a different spot to where they don't line up with what you got going on. And then you just have, incompatibility, and that's not a great place to be in.
Yeah, and plus teenagers are hormonal and mean, and they will
Yes.
just like stab you in the back for no reason and then not even think twice about it.
Did you deal with a lot of, cause you mentioned you were overweight. Was that something you dealt with in school, being picked on and things like that?
Oh, absolutely. I was chubby kid from like ever. Like
Yeah.
from when I was born, I was actually a really tiny baby, but then quickly that changed. I think my mom and I ate out a lot. Like I still cooked, but like we didn't always eat like the healthiest foods, and wasn't something we really talked about. Like
Yeah.
as I got older, like the doctors would say it was like an issue, so we'd like try to get healthy for a while. Like I remember being young and like doing Weight Watchers with her, but like it wasn't anything we ever stuck to. So like those weren't habits I like developed as I was growing up.
Right. And
Um,
did she have problems with the weight as well?
yeah, yeah, she was overweight. She actually got a weight loss surgery as not too long ago, just a couple years ago. So
Oh,
she's
okay.
doing better now. But yeah, my whole life she was overweight as well. Um, but yeah, kids are ruthless. They will
Yeah.
make fun of you for anything, especially like gym class. If you can't do what they want you to do,
Yeah.
they will just tear you down. Which now as an adult I'm fine with, but like when I see little kids that are overweight, I just want to like hug them
Yes. Tell
because
them
I
it's going to
know
be
what they're
okay.
probably yeah. Like they say like no bullying in school now, but I can't really say that's probably that true. I mean, I'm not there, but I'm
Yeah.
hoping that's true for their sake.
Well, now you probably got the shaming like on the internet now. Now it's just like, oh, I'm going to post a meme of them on like Snapchat to like a bunch of
Yeah.
people and take a picture of
Mhm.
them at an awkward angle where they can't see what I'm doing. And that's how I imagine in my head that this thing goes. But
Yeah, probably. It's probably worse now because you can do, like, everything, like, anonymously
oh
and no
yeah,
one would ever know.
definitely. Something you mentioned earlier, I want to kind of come back to because I think this is also important. Talk about only child, your mom, kind of raising you on her own. This is something that I dealt with as well. I mean, my mother eventually met my now stepdad, and he helped raise us as well. But early on, I mean, I remember like my mother worked 3 jobs to support us because my biological father, his money was his money, and he was never really very present. And so,
Mhm.
that whole thing where you're talking about, we didn't always cook and we're going out to eat sometimes. Like I can relate to that. And I think that is what a lot of people in our position that had one parent that was raising us on their own probably dealt with a lot because the parent, they're trying to make it, they're trying to support themselves and their children or child.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times my mother and me, it would just be like, oh, hey, you want a Happy Meal? You want, a
Yeah,
KFC's
that's
over
the
here?
thing, is that, like, that stuff made us happy, especially, like, she was overweight too, so, like, if you're overweight, you like to eat, so
Yeah.
going out to eat, even if it's for fast food, is something you enjoy, and I'm sure she was stressed
Oh,
working
yeah.
and raising a kid by herself, so I'm sure she's like, "Yeah, let's go eat." I mean, I still do that sometimes, and I'm lost all the weight, but still makes me happy when I'm like, "Hey, I haven't eaten out in a month. Let's go eat."
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we don't have to go too far into it, but do you have any kind of relationship with your father or no?
Um, Strangely enough, and once my adult years hit, well, he was in my life some as a kid, not
Right.
very much, very in and out, and like he helped child support occasionally, but again, very in and out.
Sure.
So nothing I would rely on. But as an adult, I tried to have a relationship with him, and my mom and dad are actually back together now, which is
Wow.
very strange. Strange, like I'm used to it now because it's been several years, but I was like in my late 20s when they got back together, and they were getting a divorce when she found out she was pregnant with me.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, it was a big adjustment.
I'll ask you this question and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I know for me, like when it came to my father, because he was not present, I very much kind of had him on the pedestal because he was this like mysterious type person. Did you have that kind of feeling when he was not present that he was more like on this pedestal, like, because, oh, I I don't see him as much, and I desire this relationship. Did you go through those kind of feelings?
Well, I used to like, because as a kid, you like hoped and prayed that you'd have your dad, but like
Yes.
then like I remember like very distinct memories. Like one time he was supposed to take me to a carnival, and I remember sitting by the window like bawling because he just didn't show up.
Yeah.
So like he kind of like crushed those dreams of like me thinking he was some like amazing guy. My mom never really like talked bad about him. Like, as I got older, she explained more to me what like he was like,
Right.
and then I kind of like understood why he wasn't around. Um,
Yeah.
but as a kid, I definitely was like, "But he's my dad, he's gotta be amazing." But then as I got a little older and I started noticing, like, he would say he would do things, but he wouldn't show up, or, like, he would when he would come, he'd, like, bring me, like, a big present, like,
Yeah.
"That's gonna make it better." No, that didn't make it better.
God,
But,
I feel for you. I can identify so much. Believe
yeah.
me.
As an adult, it's kind of weird now, like, I know he's my dad, but, like, he doesn't really feel like my dad. It kind of feels like my mom's boyfriend, but
Yeah.
but closer. But he's really, really, really good with my son. He's, like, loves him.
Oh,
He
that's
loves
great.
being a grandpa, so it's good to see that.
Oh, definitely. And what was it like
Yeah.
for you to become a parent? I mean, because I would imagine that, being in that position that you were in as a kid, you would probably never, in your wildest imagination, imagine raising a child and not being present. Like, it's just not an option. You got to be there. You got to give them everything you never had and more, and then some. So what was that like for you? Like when you found out that you were going to have a child and going into, raising a kid?
Well, I always wanted to be a mom. That's, like, the thing, like, when people wanted to ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, it was to be a mom. I was one of those little girls that had, like, a million babies and
Oh yeah.
Barbies and dressing them all and taking them places, having them in, like, their own little car seats and taking them with me.
You were
Um,
practicing.
yep, I was ready from, like, birth. Um when I first got pregnant, I actually lost my first son. He had a birth defect. It
Mhm.
was called ancephaly. So I delivered him around 14 weeks. We still got to hold him and see him, but that was like soul crushing for me.
I could
So
imagine.
that was when I became a parent, but unfortunately I didn't get to keep that baby.
Right.
So after healing emotionally and physically from having him, we got pregnant like 3 to 4 months later with my son,
Oh,
my
wow.
second son. And he is healthy and happy, and he's almost 3. He'll be 3 in less than a month, and it's the best thing ever. Being a parent
Yeah.
is my favorite thing in the world. I always say it's the hardest and best thing you will ever
I can
do.
only imagine. And I would imagine I'm just gonna take a guess here. You probably have your own opinion, but like I would imagine that these years, the early years, are probably gotta be the most fun because they're kind of figuring the world out and figuring themselves out to a certain
Mhm.
degree. And I would imagine that that's got to be, probably a fun time to raise a kid is in the early years.
Yeah. I think all the years will have, like, their struggles and, like,
Sure.
their good parts, because like, newborns are exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm glad that phase is over, but at the same time, it was fun to see
Yeah.
how quickly they grow, like, from when they're born to 1 year, that first year is amazing how much they change. And now my son being almost 3, like, now he can talk, and I can tell, like, right now he's, like, learning to deal with his emotions,
Yes.
and I can, like, see that, like, visually see him trying to deal with them. So, like, it's hard to watch when he's struggling with it, but it's also amazing seeing, like, I made that, and now he's
Yeah.
learning how to, like, be a human.
And it's I guess it's true what they say, like they really do grow very quickly.
So quickly. I feel like I just found out I was pregnant and now he's almost 3, so that's almost, like, 4 years later.
Yeah, you blink and he's gonna be graduating high school before you know it.
Oh, don't say that.
Can you imagine like the fun it's gonna be when you're gonna raise a teenager and he's gonna want to go hang out at the movies, be out late, and all these kind of
No.
things.
Nope, I won't be sleeping. No. I'll be like, "What is he doing? I know what I did."
Yeah, what was that what was those years like for you? Were you that kind of person, you're just out late and just kind of running the roads?
No, I was actually really, really good kid. My mom was really, like, trusting of me, so I was pretty good. I mean, I did some drinking, but nothing crazy, and when we did drink, I always, like, stayed at a friend's house, and, like, I wasn't, like, doing drugs and if I was going somewhere, I told my mom where I was honest and told her where I was going, and I was always home before it was too late. I did get my first boyfriend around 14, though, so that was probably
How did
kinda
she
young.
take that news?
She handled it pretty well. She didn't hate him, so that was a good start.
Yeah. Trying to get the
Um,
mother's approval is not easy. I can speak to this from experience, but I have a way of charming. And so I've
yeah.
won over many, many mothers over my years, but I can imagine the position that he was probably in.
Yeah, she liked him. I mean, we were together for a little over 2 years, which for a young relationship, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy actually.
Yeah, yeah. And then my second one, when I was 17, she did not like him, and we were also together for about 2 years, and that was probably a long 2 years for her.
I would imagine. And you were probably not happy that she wasn't happy.
No, I wasn't, but after the fact, I'm like, "Yeah, she was right. You probably should have listened to her."
And how did she feel about your husband when she met him?
Oh, she loves him.
Yeah.
And she actually knew him because that remember when I said we worked together and I could walk there? She
Yes.
actually lived right next to that to that convenience store, so she knew him because she went there all the time. So,
Oh, there you
not
go.
only did I go to school with him and then worked with him, but she knew him from there. So, she loves him. She still loves him. She she says he's the best.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's great when you got all these things clicking in the right spot. I mean, you're good to go.
Mhm.
So you mentioned growing up and kind of always being the chubby kid, and eating some of the fast food, and that probably contributed to it. And I think you also mentioned that you weren't really into sports. So, was being active that kind of wasn't a thing. Like you weren't very like, you were more like in
No.
the house a lot.
Yeah. We were definitely in the house. Like, we would come home and I would, like, watch TV, sometimes take a nap until my mom got home, and then
Yeah.
we would, like, watch shows together. Like, our neighbor we had lived in an apartment that was like a house, like, upstairs was an apartment and downstairs. Our upstairs neighbor would come downstairs and watch shows with us. Like, I remember vividly watching, like, American Idol with her every
Yeah.
every week it was on. That was more our thing, and then sometimes we would do, like, board game nights, like, stuff like that, but nothing like, the most activity we did is when we came out,
Yeah.
she got one of those, and we would play that, but that was pretty further along in my childhood at that point, but at least it was some kind of movement.
True, true. I remember being stuck to like a Sega Genesis for the longest time. And my mom's like, you should go
Yeah.
outside and get some fresh air and run around. And I would do it a little bit, but clearly not enough because,
Yeah.
you start
Me
packing on the
neither.
pounds.
Yeah, I mean, I went outside and played some, but
Yeah.
not much, and when you get older, like, even when you go outside and play, you're not playing, you're just, like, hanging out with the kids.
Yeah.
So
You're just like sitting around and,
Yeah.
talking trash or whatever.
Yeah, basically.
Well, and the other thing too, when you're at home a lot, there's a lot of snacking that goes on. I know back in the day, it was just like, okay, well, this show's getting ready to come on. Let me make a bag of popcorn, or here's this
Yep.
thing of Ben and Jerry's or whatever.
And I lived right next to a convenience store, so I could
Yes.
basically walk right over there and get, like, the little chocolate donuts, those were my favorite, and, like, chocolate milk or whatever I wanted, and then just go back and watch my show.
Yeah, it's right there. What, a couple blocks
Yeah.
away. So,
Not even it was literally right next to our house. Like,
oh my God.
there was a road, like a tiny road, like an alley,
Yeah.
and then the store.
Oh my God. Yeah, I would be in trouble if I lived that close to a store.
Yeah. Yes, it wasn't good. I mean, it was good for me at the time. It made me happy, but it
Yeah.
wasn't good.
Well, I did used to work at a CVS, and it was behind my house, and it was a little bit further of a distance. But like I could see it from my backyard. So I had to like run up a hill, but like I would absolutely sneak out like, 8 or 9 o'clock at night without going through the front door. I'd go through the basement door. I'd run up the hill to CVS, get like peach rings, gummy bears, Snickers bars, or in my later years, grab some beer and run back to the house to try to catch some show on time and just sit there and chill with food and stuff.
Yeah, and my mom was like, not to like bash her, but like she was all for it too. So it's not like I had to like hide it. It wasn't like bringing my snacks home and nope, I was just eating them freely.
Well, that's an interesting angle because I think a lot of people, they would hide it. Like, when I think of like my perspective, because my mother was a single mother for a while, like, she wouldn't be home. So I would be home alone and snacking. And I think that there's probably a lot of people that go through that, but you had the other end of it where you and mom, you're like bonding, you're snacking, you're hanging out and just having a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I was home alone all the time too, because I didn't have siblings and she was working. So after school or summer vacation. So I'm sure I ate plenty of extra stuff I didn't need to eat then too.
Yeah.
Because when you're home, you get bored and then you just start eating, especially when that's something you enjoy doing.
Oh, 100%. And it also benefited when I was younger because, there would be, nobody home. So, if you were dating somebody, they could come and hang out for a while or whatever. It was always very flexible, because the parents were never, or the parent was not around. So, but yeah, so you're going to the convenience store, you're having your donuts. And I mean, like, how long, like how many years would you say, like, it kind of took you till you got to your highest weight before you decided to make a change?
Took me like my whole life. I mean, there were times, like I said, like when I was a little kid and we did Weight Watchers, and then around 2009, I actually lost a bunch of weight. I broke up with that second boyfriend that my mom didn't like. I called it the boyfriend diet because I dropped a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
But then I met my current husband and you get happy and then you start eating and then all my weight came back that I lost.
Oh my God. Yes. That is, you nailed on something very key there, because as amazing as a feeling it is to fall in love with somebody, it could also be very detrimental to your health because like, you're like, oh, let's go out to dinner here. Let's check this out. And like, or you travel a lot together and food becomes like this cool thing. We're going to go hang out, or, dates, we're going to go out to eat here and there. And that could be a big problem.
Yeah, it definitely was. And then like we would like on the weekends, we'd be like, oh, we're done work. So we'd like drink and like, not like blackout drunk, but we'd drink enough. And then we'd have like snacks after we drank. So it'd be like fried foods and then like, so yeah, it was just a lot of calories in those first few years that made all the work I did come back off. So 2015 is when I decided I'd had enough. We got married in 2014, so I was at my heaviest right around then when we got married, because we got married in November. So January 1st, 2015, it was my New Year's resolution to get healthy. I didn't say lose weight, even though that's part of it. I wanted to be healthy.
Did you, a lot of people, they'll say like, oh, I remember a specific day where something like hit me, like to set up that resolution. Like for me, like I had a picture where I was in the suit and I looked gigantic. And that was when I knew I needed to make a change. Like, did you have a pivotal moment, a certain day that you can recall that where you're like, now we need to make this change?
Well, I remember a lot of things like right around that time frame when we were getting married, we were stressed and eating like crap, even though our wedding was small, like I made it simple. So it wasn't like overly stressful, but it's still like scary. You're going to like walk in front of a bunch of people.
Oh
you're going to have to like be the center of attention the whole night. So you're still stressing about that. So I remember like my husband has 3 sisters and 2 of his nieces. We used to babysit a lot and I would be like dead after watching them. Like no energy at all left. Like, they had literally sucked me dry, which it's different watching other people's kids because 'cause you're not used to that every day, but I was like, "I can't let that happen when
Yeah.
I have my own kids, so I don't want to be like this." And then we got married, and I saw my wedding photos, which I love, but I was like, "Wow, I am huge." Like, that's literally what I thought. Like, I can't be this size and be pregnant because 'cause I'm going to gain weight. Like, you gain weight when you're pregnant. There's no choice in that fact.
It's part
That's
of the
going to
process.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you're super strict, you're still going to gain, which I wasn't, but
Yeah.
that's not the point. Um, so I was like, I wanna be a mom and, like, not to get too in depth, but, like, my cycles weren't even normal because my weight was so heavy, my
Right.
body just wasn't functioning right, and I was like, "What if I can't have a baby because of this?" And I didn't want that to happen, so that's when, like, I was done. I was like, "No more of this. I'm gonna stop." And I started on the first and I never looked back. And a lot of people were like, New Year's resolutions never work, which I'm not saying I never gave up on some of them. And that could be the case for a lot of people, but I stuck with this one and I'm very happy that I did.
Yeah, well, it definitely looks like you certainly have come a very, very long way, and we'll run down that whole process. What your husband was? Did he have any kind of health issues, or is he in pretty good shape?
He actually got healthy with me.
Oh, cool. That's
Um,
kind of
the
where I was going with that. I didn't know if he was
yeah,
also a bigger guy.
he started with me. The issue is he did really well the first year, like I did. The first year I lost a little over 100 pounds,
Wow.
and he didn't have to lose as much as I did. I think he lost about 70, and he was like plenty. He did not need to lose anymore.
Yeah.
He was good. um, but then we got pregnant that right around then, and it was actually I think 10 months that I had lost about 100 pounds because I got pregnant. I found out in November. And then we lost our son in January. And that kind of hurt his diet.
Yeah.
I decided to go the other way, like, used it to push me forward, to keep my diet going, to keep me healthy, like, focus on the positive. But he didn't as much. His mental health went downhill a little, and he started eating worse and drinking more, and he gained his weight back. But thankfully, he's back to it now. So he's losing that weight. He's already dropped about 30 pounds that he's gained. So
Oh, that's
he's
awesome.
doing good. Yeah. So, and then once we had well, I lost about 10 pounds after I had my second son. Then I got pregnant again and I gained like a bunch, 60 pounds probably
Right.
with
Right.
that pregnancy because baby. And then I ate a lot of food. And I can say that it was pregnancy, but it was also me just saying, I'm going to eat it because I want it. And I'm stressed and worried about this pregnancy because I didn't want anything bad to happen.
Exactly.
And I knew that I would get it back off. And I did. It took me 9 months to put it on. It took me 9 months to get the weight back off. So I felt pretty good about
No, that's
that.
awesome. And one of the reasons why I asked
Yeah.
about him as well, because one of the things is kind of a theme here on the show. It's like, you talk to people that they have spouses or, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. And it's like, they're either like all in, they're with you, or they're on their own kind of deal. And sometimes that can cause issues. So it sounds like you guys are on the same path, and maybe you can kind of speak to how much that helps, to be working together towards something.
I've kind of been on both sides of that. So I can see both sides
Yeah.
because at first we were together hardcore, which I'm sure that helped me tremendously stay on track because he was eating whatever I was making pretty much, like not complaining, just wanted it to be healthy. And we were tracking calories. So like fitting in his calories and especially liked it if it was like a non-healthy meal and I made it like something healthier so we could
Yeah.
eat it again. Um, so that, yeah, it really helps when you have someone who's not complaining about what you're cooking or
Yeah.
wants to work out with you or any of those things. But then when he stopped, I didn't want to stop. So he would eating crappy food,
Yeah.
and I would have to just not, which takes a lot of willpower when you love food,
I can
especially
imagine. Yeah.
sweets.
He's got to make his stuff and you got to have your
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep, and his was usually, like, snacking, like, not that it was really a snack, it was probably, like, hundreds of calories, but, like,
Yes.
late at night, and that's when, like, it's the hardest just for me, not for everyone, but especially for me, especially if it was sweets, like a giant bowl of ice cream, I probably just, like, sat there and stared at him drooling while he was eating it.
Well, it made you tough, right? I mean, over the years, it
Yep,
made you tougher, mentally
and,
tougher.
like, I'm not perfect, I definitely have giant bowls of ice cream some nights,
Sure.
but you can't do that every day if you want to keep the weight off, which I do.
Yeah. No, I think, maybe once a week or once every other week, I don't think there's a big problem with that. It's just, yeah, if you're going back to the everyday, like I used to eat McDonald's every single day, 5 days a week. That's where you got a problem. But, once a week, or even if you want to go once every other week, I don't have a big problem with that. If you're,
Yeah.
if you're living that healthy lifestyle, otherwise, and you're constantly moving, you're getting that water in, you
Mhm.
might see slower progress, but I mean, you're still going to
Well,
be going in the right direction.
I'm maintaining now, so I can eat ice cream more often.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
when I
See, yeah.
but when I was, being trying to lose weight, it's not that I didn't eat it, I just wouldn't eat it in large quantities, like, I'd get, like, the things that are already measured out for you, or, like, the bars, or the healthier ice cream that they have now, like the Halo Top and stuff,
Yeah.
so that I couldn't just eat, like, half a gallon of ice cream and eat all my calories that way.
Well, that's kind of where I want to go next, because I
Mhm.
think one of the biggest struggles, like when you said, January 1st, all right, let's do this a couple of years ago, it's like, okay, cool. Resolutions are cool, goals are cool and all that stuff. But it's like, now you actually have to make the transition. So speaking to the food, and we'll talk about exercise in a little bit here, but like, speaking to the food side of it, when you come from kind of having what you want and then starting to, do, whether it's the portion control or whatever plan you're getting on, like how is that transition for you? Do you find it difficult early on, or do you find yourself just so motivated that I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a sort of a smoother transition?
At first, I would say it was easy. Not that I wasn't hungry, but
Yeah.
the weight drops off of you when you're over 300 pounds so quickly at
Oh my
first.
God. Yes.
When you're first starting, it keeps you motivated, but that quickly changes.
Yes.
but but like the first probably 2 months, like the first month, it dropped off ridiculously quick. But like the first 2 months, it probably was dropping fast enough that I was just staying motivated from that, because watching the scale go down that quickly, you're like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yes.
But then that changes and it slows way down, and that's when it gets hard. That's when you have to remember why you're doing it, and remember it's not just the scale that you need to focus on, and how you're feeling, and
Yes.
mentally and physically, because not many people talk about the mental side, but I feel like a million times better when I take care of myself
Yes.
mentally. I'm way less negative and I'm happier, and everything is just better. Not that like life still happens, life is still hard and no one's perfect, but like if I'm eating well and I'm exercising, I am a way better person.
Yes. This is something I do talk about on the podcast a lot, is the mental game, because I mean, when you look at it, your mindset, I mean, your brain literally is the driver to your body. That's not just some cute metaphor that looks good on a meme. Like that's the truth. Like if your brain is not in the right headspace, it's not going to put you in the right position to want to make the right moves. You're just going to be, rather maybe it's shutting down or going the other way with it, where you're binge eating. But there's a lot of things that go tied to the mental aspect of it. And I agree with you. I don't think enough people talk about it. And I think maybe
Mhm.
if I'm guilty of anything, maybe I talk about it too much on here. And I don't know if that's a thing, but like I bring it up frequently because I want people to know, that it is very, very important, and you cannot
No, I
sleep on
don't
that.
think you can. I don't think you would ever talk about it too much, because like after I lost my son, I easily could have just went back into my old habits and ate everything and
Sure.
became like a negative, bitter, angry person. But because I knew how well I felt, like I was still down 100 pounds and I still had more to go. Like I focused on that because I knew how much it was going to help me, and it helped me tremendously. Like I uh, joined a online support group and met like a ton of amazing women and did like a walk for him to raise money for the research for his birth defect, and like
Mhm.
did all these things that I never ever would have done if I was still 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Because a walk, I would have never done that. That was physical. And then like effort to like contact all these people. We did a silent auction. Like all of that took like planning and organization, and like I would have not done any of that. I just had no drive or motivation to do like anything or energy to do it.
That's another key thing too we should talk about, because it's one of the maybe unexpected side effects of getting healthy or losing weight, however you want to phrase it. It's like the amount of activity you suddenly want to do. Like, damn, I feel like I could go hike up a mountain right now, or go
Yeah.
do a 5K or a 10K. Like you suddenly have all these like bursts of energy. It's like now, because I think like for me personally, like I've always had like sometimes like nervous twitches. Like I've been working on it a lot. Like even when I sit here at my desk and do these podcasts, like I'm sitting at a desk for an hour talking to somebody. It's hard not to just get up and want to move or be fidgety. And so when I was losing the weight, I noticed that like, God, I just want to go like walk 3 or 5 miles outside. You suddenly just gain all this like instant energy. You just want to keep going and going and going.
Yeah, that's true. If I sit too much, like if it's a rest day, like I have to do something.
Oh
If I
yeah.
sit too much, I'm like, nope, I've got too much energy. This is not working. But like, it's amazing because before I would sit all day and
Yeah.
not even think twice about it.
Well, it's really good now because you're in such great condition, and you have essentially a toddler, and they can be a bundle of energy, and so
Yes, he is.
you're in a good spot because you're very healthy now, so you can keep up with all that madness.
Yes, I'm thankful for that. I have him and then I babysit it depending on the day, how many kids. So I always have plenty of little ones to chase around.
So is that your profession, or you do childcare?
I'm a stay-at-home mom. I just watch a couple kids that I'm friends with.
Yeah.
And I have an online job too, but it's just part-time. It's nothing fancy. But
Right.
basically, I'm just a stay-at-home mom with some side jobs.
So what you're saying is my husband is a super, stud, and he's making them big bucks, and we're in a really good spot.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
There you go.
I wish there were bigger bucks, but yes.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, hey, if you can be in a position where you can be that stay-at-home mom and give your child as much attention, that's a good spot to be in, let me tell you.
Yes, we are a good team. He works, I mean, I work, but he works outside of the home and I take care of the home. So
Yeah.
together we get everything done.
Well, and you think about it too, because like going back to like, we had single parents essentially, and it's like they're like working all the time. And so you're in this
Uh-huh.
really good spot where you get to be there like as much as you can possibly be for your kid, as opposed to being like, out working all the time and stuff.
I know, it's sad when I think about that. Like I'm not gonna get these years back. He's already 3,
Yeah.
and like she had to leave me with my grandmother watched me when I was little, so that was a little better than like a daycare,
Same
but
here.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sure she missed that time.
Yes. Definitely. Definitely. Tell me about the workout aspect of it too, because that's another thing. When you're just getting started, and you've
Mhm.
got so many different directions you could go in. Because if you look online, I mean, my God, there's so much information out there, and everybody's got their 2 cents on what you should do. And
Yeah.
how did it boil down for you? Were you like right in a gym right away, or were you doing like home
No.
workouts, or
I actually didn't use a gym at all for this weight loss.
Wow, okay,
Not
cool,
once.
that's great.
Yeah, when I first started, um, being I was like 310 pounds. I We got a stationary bike that actually had a weight that was, because some of the weight limits on stationary bikes is under 250, which
Yeah.
I would have been over that.
Yep.
So we had to make sure that I wasn't going to break it when we bought it. But we found one on Amazon. So I was doing a stationary bike, and we did the Zumba on PlayStation, which sounds funny, but when you're 300 pounds, that's a good workout.
Definitely.
um, and then we did walking a lot. Like, I didn't do anything too serious at first, and I did about 3 days a week. Um, and then as I continued, I got better and things got easier, so I had to make them more intense. I found Fitness Blender on YouTube, if
Right.
you've ever heard of them. Um, they're all free workouts. Well, they had just started a new thing now that's not free, but they have like 600 free workouts on YouTube. So they're
Wow.
who I use the most, and I love them. But I also sometimes do like dance workouts or Zumba workouts, whatever. If I get tired of doing Fitness Blender, which is usually like HIIT workouts and strength training.
Yeah.
So I used to work out like 30 minutes 3 times a week. Now I do 5 times a week, about an hour a time.
Yeah, it's all about, kind of just getting used to it and your body eventually it's hard to believe, like, because there's always going to be people that are going to come across a podcast like this, or maybe an Instagram post of yours or mine, and they think like, oh, these people, it's easy for them to do all this now, but it's like, your body over time, if you're consistent and you really, number one, take your time, and number two, you don't push it too hard right out of the gate, like, your body will get so much stronger over time. And it's really a fun thing to kind of watch, because you're just like, oh my God, I can do these things now that I never thought, like I never would have thought that I could run a 5K, or
Yeah.
even a 10K, but eventually my body got in a spot where I could do it.
Yeah, like that was me when I did a pull up. I can only do one, but I did one. And
Yeah.
I've never been able to do one.
Well, you got some big guns. I've seen some of your pictures. You got the gun show going on.
Thank you. And that's what I try to tell everyone. Like, I have not used a gym in this entire I used a gym before, but then I gained all my weight back. So I don't really count that as
Yeah.
this process because I gained all of it plus some. And all of this weight loss and all of the muscles that I've built have been in my living room. So I get tons of excuses from people because I get messages all the time on how did I do it and how did you get time? Like, I can't go to the gym. I never went to the gym. I have kids. Yes, I have a kid and several extras throughout the day.
Yes.
And I work out with them. Do I have to pause sometimes? Yep, I do. But that doesn't mean my workout isn't still getting done. I'm still burning the calories. It's still happening. When my son was little, I used to strap him on me in a baby carrier and do my workouts.
Wow.
So all the people that tell me like all their excuses, I'm like, I have them too, but you just have to you have to go past them. And people tell me they don't have any money. That's why everything I did was free. I used my Fitness Pal, it's free.
Yes.
I used YouTube workouts, were free. Like, I didn't pay for a gym. I didn't do any of that. So anyone telling me they don't have the money for it, yep, me neither.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, now I have a set of Power Block dumbbells. If you know what those are, they're adjustable dumbbells. Those aren't very cheap, but that's what I bought myself when I hit my goal weight.
Right.
So that was my present to me.
No, and I think that's great. And I think, to be fair, I mean, from a mental perspective, I think people that are like just coming into this, when they look at all these things, they think there's this perception that there is like a lot of upfront costs, and some of that can be thrown onto the diet industry, the diet culture, as my friend Daryl Perry would say. They make them feel like there's this big upfront cost. You got to spend all this money and buy all this junk. And so I think what happens is that a lot of people get really overwhelmed, and that's where kind of those excuses come from. Well, I can't because of this or this or this, because they have this preconceived notion that it starts like this, like a certain way. But in fact, like you're saying, you can start for nothing and really build up one heck of a progress on very little, if nothing at all. You can just start and do amazing things.
Yep, and that's I try to preach to everyone that, like, you don't need to spend a lot of money, if any money, even if you like, I tell people a set of weights, even a cheap one and a used one, right? In a few months, everyone will be selling their stuff that they got and they're not using. So, tips to anyone, check Facebook Marketplace if you want some weights.
That's a good hack
um,
right there for sure.
but even your own body, like if you're not working out and you do some body weight squats, like 10 of them, you're gonna feel it the next day. So you don't need to add anything to that. But that's what I try to preach to everyone, that you don't have to make this some expensive thing. You don't need supplements. You don't need any of that. If you're going to like become a bodybuilder or like get seriously into this, then maybe down the road. But if you're just starting out, you don't need to. And what I've always preached is if you want this badly enough and you're ready to change, you will get past any of your excuses.
Yes, yes. So there are people that come from the mindset of, well, you never really know when you're ready. I kind of disagree with that. I think that there comes a time where you know in your mind, okay, yes, I am ready. And then at that point, you can start to make all kinds of moves. And I think really what it comes down to, it's like, if I think of like just the simplest way to get started, it's like, maybe you go out for like walks around the neighborhood or walk around your house. Even you're just walking
Mhm.
and drinking lots of water, because you would be amazed. And I'm speaking to people that don't really know what's going on. You'd be amazed at like what just drinking water. Like I remember when I gave up soda about a month or two before I started my journey. And I felt that I was down probably over 10 pounds just giving up that stuff and going on like
Yeah.
straight water. Water works wonders, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things I tell people that have never tracked calories. Like, I'm not saying you have to do that to lose weight, but if
Yes.
you only, even if you do it for a week to see what you're eating, it's eye-opening. Especially
Yeah.
if you drink your calories, like a soda, if you're drinking like 3 of those a day, that's a lot of calories that you can easily just don't do that.
No, and
And just add water.
I'm going to pile on to what you're saying here. Like, I think, a lot of people, like, they think like, okay, like, let's just say MyFitnessPal. I use that as well. A lot of people will think, oh, well, I'm not going to use that until I'm ready to get started. I say, no way. Track what you're eating now, even if it's bad. So you have an idea, you have a kind of a barometer of like
Mhm.
where you're at right now. And that kind of gives you kind of the perspective that you need to move forward. I
Yep.
think you should see exactly what you got going on in there.
Absolutely. When I first started, I mean, everyone knows like a bag of Doritos is not your best choice, but there's
Sure.
still other foods that you're eating, like like granola, for example. Most people think that's healthy, which it's fine, and you can eat your Doritos or your granola or whatever. But like when you're tracking calories, you're gonna like look at how much is in like a quarter of a cup and be like, whoa,
Yeah.
maybe I don't want to eat that.
Yeah. I found what helped me was like getting like anything that came in like the small bags where it's like, if I eat this bag, instead of it saying like 2 or 3 servings in one bag, it's just that bag is the one serving. And that
Yeah.
really helped out a
Like the
lot.
100 calorie packed nuts, I liked those a lot when I was first starting because
Yeah.
nuts have, like, 1,000,000 calories in them if you eat too many, but those little packs are all measured for you, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, yeah, and there were even times like if there was something that I really wanted to have that maybe they didn't offer the smaller bags, like I got so nerdy with it that I would like take the big bag, open it up, and I would like put it into smaller bags. I'd count out the portion,
Oh, yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
there's 11 chips in one serving. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and that really helped out a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, when I first started, I was super strict too. Like, have you ever had veggie sticks? Their servings are like 48 sticks because they
Yeah.
weigh like nothing, and I would count out all 48 of them.
No,
I'm
that's
not like
awesome.
that now, but yeah, that was totally me too. When you're like counting every little one, you're like, that. Nope, I counted those calories. I'm gonna eat that.
Exactly. You know exactly what it is. And MyFitnessPal, they're really good about having the barcodes to scan, or,
Mhm.
once you've already entered it in, it remembers and you can save certain meals. And that was kind of the thing for me, like, especially when I first got started, I was eating a lot of the same stuff. And, sometimes it gets boring after a while, but it's like I knew exactly the amount that was going in. And so I would know when I'm working out, okay, this is what, the caloric deficit, this is where we got to be, or else it's not going to work.
Yeah, I eat a lot of the same types of food too, like, I might cook them differently, but it's nice though when you do that, especially at first, because, like, I would measure or weigh everything, like 4 ounces of meat. Once
Yeah.
you do that enough, you know what that looks like, and you don't have to do that anymore, but at first, it's definitely eye-opening. You're like, "Oh, I was eating 4 times this. I
Oh
didn't
my
eat that
God. Yeah.
much."
I wish I would have had the MyFitnessPal before I started, because I would have loved to have tracked one of my McDonald's trips, which was like 2 or 3 McDoubles, a 4-piece nugget, and a small chocolate shake. I would love to see how many. That's got to be like probably the amount of calories that I eat in one day now is probably what that was by itself.
Yeah, we used to eat McDonald's too. I usually get the 2 cheeseburger meal and then an extra sandwich and some nuggets with a big Coke and
Now,
a large fry.
now tell me this, and don't even think about lying. Did you ever do this thing where, like, let's say you were picking up something for the way home and you're like, well, I got to have a sandwich for the drive home so I can eat my dinner at home? Did you ever do that?
Well, my husband is super picky about any of the food being cold,
Right.
so I'd have to get it super close to the house.
Yes.
So if it wasn't really close, I probably wouldn't. Sometimes I would eat like the chicken nuggets on the way home just
Yeah.
because I was hungry and they smelled good, but I had to keep the bag shut so the hot air wouldn't get out. Look, I've been lectured on this many times.
It sounded like you need one of those like DoorDash bags, like the heat
Yeah.
bag.
Yes, yep. But our go-tos were McDonald's and Subway.
Oh,
But,
Subway.
like,
Yeah.
not healthy Subway. Like, add, like, as much mayo and deliciousness on
Oh
top.
yeah. Yeah. You know what though? When I was first starting to lose the weight, I was going to Subway a lot actually, but I was getting their double chicken chop salad. And that is like, because one of the things I would always look forward to on the Subway, I would always tell them, like, throw a bunch of tomatoes on there, throw, the lettuce, the onions, the peppers. Like, I loved all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so when they came out with the salads, I remember just like being very excited because I'm like, the vegetables, oddly enough, were one of my favorite parts of the sandwich. And so this idea that they would just load up a big ass bowl with a bunch of these veggies and I could just go crazy and it not do a ton of damage to me was pretty cool. So
Yeah. Yeah, I like Subway now too. It's, like, one of the few places that is pretty common that you can get something and not blow your calories. But
yeah,
but that's not what we were eating. I was getting, like, the seafood salad, which a lot of Subways don't have, but around here they do, which is just, like, imitation crab meat, which
yeah.
has a ton of mayo in it, and then I would get cheese and more mayo, and then get, like, a salad or a soup or chips or cookies or chips and cookies.
You're probably like, you know what? Leave the bread off. I'm just going to wrap this thing in cheese and mayo.
Yes, basically, that would have been great.
Which is something I would have done too. So I'm not even trying to throw shade. I was absolutely in that mindset. I'm right there with you. So, but I look at it and I really appreciate your time. You've been so gracious with your time. I just look at it as a whole, like everything you've done and kind of like, cause we recently connected. I'm like, wow, you've really accomplished a lot. I mean, you've really come a long way.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I really like about Instagram, not that there aren't some downfalls to the things that people try to sell and stuff and, like, the Instagram models, but overall, the people that I'm following, I've found, like, some amazing people that share their stories, like, I would never have known about, and I
Yeah.
really like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's wrap up on that. Let's talk really quickly about Instagram. Like how do you find out about the kind of health and fitness community? Where did you kind of just have like your own personal profile and you later found out about this? Did you create a specific profile for this purpose? Like, how do you get into that world?
Yeah, I actually started a Facebook page, Getting Healthy with Eden,
Yeah.
when I first started, well, maybe a couple months after, but it was pretty early on. I wasn't posting like I was mostly posting like motivational stuff and some recipes. And then as I got more into it, I started posting like my workouts, what I
Yep.
was doing. And then like when I got pregnant and I was working out the first half of my pregnancy, I still included that in it. And then like now I'm much more like real and not just like some days I'm like, I ate a giant bowl of ice cream today and I'm
Yeah.
not mad about it. Don't do that every day. Or if I'm not feeling my workout, I will make a post about that and show people that like it's not going to be easy every day and you're not going to love it, but it's worth it. So do it anyway.
I agree.
um, but then I made my Instagram more recently, and then I started finding more and more people. Instagram definitely seems, I mean, I think a lot of people make both, and my Facebook has a lot more people on it than my Instagram does right now.
Right.
But I think Instagram has more people that are on their health journeys. At least that's what I've noticed so far, which I like because I like to watch people even if I'm not if I don't know them that well. You still
Sure.
feel like you know them because you're watching them on Instagram and they're posting about their lives. And I still like getting, I mean, I'm, let's see, 5 years into this journey now, and
Yeah.
I still like seeing new recipes or new tips or new workouts people have tried. And I mean, this is my lifestyle now, so anything new to try is always exciting.
Yeah. One of the fun things I like to do here, as we wrap up, do you have a recollection of your first post? Now I'm asking this very intentionally because I've gone back, I've scrolled back to your first post. So I always like to ask the person if they remember the very first thing they posted on there.
I don't remember. No.
I will refresh your memory. So this was July 29th, 2017. There was not a caption, but there were 3 photos here. And it looks like basically 3 different steps from your process, kind of like your before or just getting started, somewhere in the middle. And then, kind of whatever that I'm going to guess was a present photo at that time. So that was your first post.
Yeah, well, that makes sense because people need to see who I am if they want to follow me.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, look, would you believe we've gone an hour? This is incredible. I'm so glad that we got connected. And if they want to connect with you, what is the best way to reach out to you?
My Instagram handle is Healthy with Eden, and then my Facebook is just Getting Healthy with Eden.
Okay.
They can follow both or one, and if they have questions, they can message me. I try to get back to anyone who messages me. I mean, I'm not a doctor.
Yes.
I can just tell you what I've been through, and that's what I'm always willing to give tips on what I've done, but I'm not certified, so I always make that clear.
Yes. Well,
I just have real life knowledge.
They should really just go follow both. That's what they should do, right?
Yes, yes. If they have both. A lot of people have gotten rid of Facebook from what I've been being told because they don't like the changes that they're doing to it. But I have both, especially my personal page because of family.
Yes. I just got back on there. I mean, I never deleted it, but I just deleted the app from my phone for a while just because I got tired of all whether it's the political rants or just people arguing.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, when the new year started, I'm like, okay, Facebook, I'm giving you another chance. Don't disappoint me. So we'll see how that goes. But look, Eden, it was such a pleasure to chat with you tonight, and I hope you have a good rest of your night. And I just want to thank you very much for your time. I think we had a great chat here.
Yes, thank you very much. It was great. Thank you for having me.
All right. What a podcast. What a guest. Thank you again, Eden, for popping on the podcast. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, I really, really appreciate it. Don't forget, check out patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. Next week's show could be in your hands on Friday, 2 days from now, not next Wednesday. So don't delay. If you've been thinking about it, if you're on the fence, now's the time. Jump on patreon.com/Gary Cantrell, as well as leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars all the way. What does the show do for you? What does it mean to you? What can a potential listener that's never heard it get out of this show? That's what we're looking for. leave a review over there. And that's it. That's all we got. I'm going to head out of here, and I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it.